online.
Oh, I figured we already were.
Nope. I lied.
Hold on, let me get it ready.
You just waste that whole story. I thought that story was on the live
I know.
stream.
I always like to have one of those,
Yeah,
and our
sorry.
producer is incompetent.
That's my best trait.
Competence?
Yep.
It's perfect for this podcast. Is this part of the...
Yeah.
Is it?
What? No, no.
Oh, okay.
I'm just playing it separate.
Oh.
I forgot everything's brand new today.
All right.
I'm ready when you're ready.
I can do it. Come on, I guess.
Justin, feeling good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Here we go.
It's Thunderheads with Brandon Soul, Rob Larson, Justin Wright, and the dark and stormy Jason Lewis.
Oh, that went
Wow,
fast.
we've been...
That went real quick.
just the incompetency that he
Yep.
likes to show week in and week out. We've been looking forward to this day for a long time, everybody, for two reasons. Number one, it is our season preview. The season's here, guys. Basketball's
happy.
here. Having basketball is much better than no basketball. So we have questions from you guys that we will answer if we get time. I'm going to be honest, I don't think we are going to have time. But I plan on doing like a separate podcast this weekend. I'm just going to get this out there ahead of time where I will answer all of your questions. But we put together the 10 most important questions pertaining to the Thunder's 2018-2019 season. We're calling them 10 booming questions. Get it? Because Thunder, when it make
Yep.
it's a great name.
So good.
It's a great name. And the second reason we're excited, Brett Dawson.
He's here.
It's a long time coming, formerly of the Oklahoman, now of the juggernaut that is the Athletic. We're excited for him. We're happy he's here. He joins the show today. Happy to have you, Brett.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here after
Are you?
many false starts.
You weren't dreading today or anything?
I was dreading today deeply because I'm moving. So like that was I was full of dread. I've been full of dread all week for today and tomorrow. So today was packing day, big packing day. Tomorrow, Friday, is moving day. I hate it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
today was the hard part, right?
Yeah, because I have movers. So like they're gonna
That
like
is
heavy
a
stuff.
Great idea.
Yeah, you reach a stage in your life where you can't be
Yeah.
like, hey man, you have a truck and like you're strong or whatever.
Right.
You used to
Like,
have a truck?
You can't do that.
Got rid of that shit real quick.
Yeah, because if you ask your friend to help you move, I mean, that's a lot to ask when you're old. Like,
Yeah, it is a lot.
you're 18, 19, okay. When you're 30, 35,
Like,
whatever.
dude, stop moving.
Yeah. I don't want to help you.
Royce Young told me today, like, I'm offended that you didn't ask me to move, help you move. And I was like,
Wow.
are you really bothered by that? And he was like, yeah, well, I really wanted to tell you no.
It works.
Rob asked me to help him move on the hottest day of all time.
I remember that.
It was like 130 outside. It was
you do it?
ridiculous. Yeah, I did. It would suck.
Jason's way too nice of a guy to turn it down.
a
Way too
bummer.
nice. Well, hopefully you guys are watching on YouTube live. If not, just know that you can in the future. You can subscribe on YouTube, watch all these podcasts live or on demand. You can click that little bell, and you can get notified every time we go live. You can be the first to hear the podcast, so that's fun. Our entire podcast schedule is on OKCThunderheads.com, so you can stay up to date for the entire season. The content is about to start flowing, people. I think we're going to average like 13 to 15 podcasts per month during the season, so that's fun. Give us some money if you want to help. we could
Give us money.
And of course, you can listen to the show on iTunes or anywhere else you find podcasts. No matter the platform, just subscribe, rate, review, and 5 stars. Help us out. Really does help. Get in touch with the show on Twitter and all other social medias at OKC Thunderheads. But now it's time to get to the goods. I kind of want to touch on the Jimmy Butler thing because it feels like we have to, right?
You have to, absolutely.
I mean, I was just going to jump in. It is the Thunder season preview, but come on. Brett, we got to get your take on this. Is he going to start the season in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it seems that way. I wouldn't have thought so a week ago. And I thought yesterday when all that stuff started to come out, I thought, well, Jimmy and his agent have cooked all this up, and they're just going to make it impossible to keep him. They conveniently had every detail of that practice leaked, and conveniently
Right.
Rachel Nichols was in Minneapolis. Cool place for her to be.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
She was just
hanging
shopping.
out.
They have all those malls.
That's true. I like Minneapolis. Is like one of my favorite places in the NBA. So
It's
I
a
can
really
see,
cool
I can
city.
see just popping in there. You know, just go.
Before the weather gets bad.
Pay homage to Prince.
Yeah.
Stop by First Avenue and take a picture of the gold star on the wall for him and all of that. I've done that. But yeah, it was weird. It just was very, all the details, all the specifics were very odd. It was a very strange situation, and it seemed really orchestrated from the standpoint that if you're Jimmy and his agent, you want it to be impossible to keep him there. You want to portray this as really difficult to keep him there, and you also want to, make it easier. You want to make it. You want to get it to the point where they've bottomed out on like, we'll take whatever, we'll take a little less. You don't have to gut the team you're going to. All that stuff makes a lot of sense from Jimmy's perspective, and obviously from the Timberwolves, it's a disaster. But, today apparently he has a team meeting and he's telling guys he's going to fight for them. Like, I hate the management, but I love you guys. We're all good.
Or he didn't have a team meeting, according to Jeff Teague.
Right.
Which is, maybe he wasn't invited. I don't know what it was.
If he sticks around, it's going to be impossible to avoid drama throughout the season, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Which almost makes it impossible to have a successful season. I mean, and you're probably going to lose him for nothing if you keep him throughout the year,
right? Which
maybe they're willing to do.
Maybe at the trade deadline they're willing to take a little less, since you're at the point where at that point you will know 100% for sure. And I think now they're not going to keep him, but maybe at the trade deadline they can find somebody willing to part with something, somebody who's trying to make a push at the end. Maybe feels like he's the guy that gets them over the top. Maybe you can get a first round pick for him, and you're not that worried about what else you get. Who knows? I don't know exactly what they're thinking. I do know if he starts there, it's fun. I mean, that's the most fun situation from the league being incredible and drama and ridiculousness.
Yeah,
and just with the kind of the friction between him and Kat that now exists.
Ooh.
Man, that's gonna be strange. But maybe this whole Jimmy thing, his whole approach to the whole thing, kind of inspires the guys around him, Wiggins and Kat, and particularly to get it together.
So I just saw like a clip of his interview with Rachel the other day where he was saying like nobody is honest here, and he was like, if they would just come up to me and be like, "Hey Jimmy, we don't think you should do that," he'd be like, "Yeah, you're probably right."
Or would he punch them in the face?
Or that, maybe. But it's a weird culture when everybody's just like, "Oh, he's being weird."
But how impressive is it that if he did orchestrate this whole deal and say, "Look, this is going to be a great way," him and his team orchestrate this. They say, "Let's get out of Minnesota. You're going to go in here. You're going to cause all this." And then he takes the third stringers and still beats them. Like, karma didn't even get him.
I don't like. The one thing I'm not sure is like all that stuff. It's like, okay, Jimmy took the third stringers and won, and also Jimmy, like, he climbs walls like Spider-Man, and also Jimmy is like having a side thing with Beyonce or what. It's like everything. Like, if it's coming directly from Jimmy's camp, maybe that's why it's all so flattering. But maybe all that stuff really happened. Who knows?
Yeah.
All I know is
I just wish there was a video.
Here's what I want. I want, if they have any sense, tomorrow they'll go in the trading room, Tibbs will lay on the table, and Dwight, like the Dwight Kobe pose, like Jimmy and Kat will be like squared off, like they're going to fight each other, so they can pretend like they don't hate each other, even though they really do. That would be fantastic.
I agree.
Solid.
It's going to be fun to see how that plays out. Although, if you're a Thunder fan, you're probably hoping that he kind of gets dealt to Miami, because Miami or Minnesota kind of was in the way last year. They were good before he went down.
Yeah,
they were probably better than the Thunder before Jimmy got hurt.
They did beat us a couple times.
Yeah, I think they went 3-1 versus the Thunder last year. A couple times were at the very end.
That bad illegal screen from Kat. I'm not holding grudges or anything.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was like the third game of the year. It's sticking out to you.
The worst case scenario for a team like the Thunder is if he goes to a place like Houston. Oh, yeah. And there's a package that helps Minnesota not bottom out, so that Minnesota stays competitive and Houston gets better.
That's true.
Yeah, that would suck.
It's interesting because I think there were reports, was it yesterday, that said something like, well, they were close. Houston was close, but they weren't willing to part with PJ Tucker. That was the one.
That's the kicker.
I'd take that one with a grain of salt.
Well, yeah. But it's always fun to see those reports and be like, yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. Like, PJ Tucker was the one holding this up.
Yeah.
Morey seems like the guy that would pull the trigger if he had a chance to get Jimmy Butler.
It was so weird. Last year, there was a point in time at the trade deadline where Thunder fans who were tweeting at me had just decided that Presti had turned down tons of deals because he wouldn't give up Terrence Ferguson. There was no factual basis in that. Like, nobody had reported it. But all these Thunder fans just decided it, and they would tweet things at me like, we could have Avery Bradley if we would give up Terrence Ferguson. And it's like, could you? Like, I don't think that's a real thing.
Where is that coming from?
Yeah.
Because I remember hearing all that stuff, too.
It's Twitter. That's the way Twitter works.
Yeah. Just some guys like, well, I'm pretty sure this trade almost happened. So
if one guy says it that has a lot of followers, it's going to spread out, and then a bunch of other people are saying it, and it becomes a thing. It becomes real. Anything you believe in hard enough becomes real.
You just manifest it into reality.
Yeah, exactly.
True life.
You want to get started with this?
Let's do it.
All right.
number 1.
That's me on The Voice.
That was like a Halloween
little pitch shift.
sound effect.
You know?
Oh yeah, we're getting there
we're
too,
getting
so
close.
it's perfect. It's got a double meaning. Question number 1 of these 10 booming questions. The most important questions of the Thunder season. It's the definitive list.
Yeah.
Okay.
We talked to Sam.
Billy Donovan has talked at lengths this offseason about the Thunder defining its identity. Once this team gets to full strength, what is the Thunder's identity, Brett?
What is it?
What is it?
Or what do they want it to be?
Ooh.
Both. What is it now, and what do they want, and how do they get there?
What they'd like it to be is an aggressive defensive team that turns its defense into offense, that is a great rebounding team that pushes off, makes and misses. And then when it gets into the half court, has multiple guys putting the ball on the floor, going past their man and swinging the ball, moving the ball around. It never sticks in any one place. And so they're a fast tempo team. Might not be necessarily translated in terms of possessions, but they look like a team where a lot of guys create plays for other guys.
Constant pressure on the defense. Because in the past, you've seen where this team offensively, maybe the first or second action of the offense doesn't work out. Well, iso ball. Get it to, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony last year. Go to work, guys. Maybe this year you have Schroeder on the court with those guys. You don't have to do that. That's asking a lot. I mean, it's hard to break those habits, though, right? I mean, this is Russell Westbrook. He's played this a certain way his whole career.
Yes.
And especially since KD left, like we had talked about before, that season where it was just the rush show, it maybe ingrained those habits even a little more. Where he's like, this is how I work.
And didn't we see it last year for the first however many months where Russ was almost trying to get Melo and Paul George going to a fault, a lot of people believed, where he was
like taming himself, but a little too far.
Yeah, and he was like overthinking everything.
Yeah.
Is he going to do that again? Is it going to become more natural to him? It's going to be interesting to see.
It's got to feel a lot more comfortable. Now that you have Paul George just here, he's got the long contract. It's got to feel a little bit more comfortable where I think things can happen a little bit more organically, where you do have this more of a free-flowing thing where Russ isn't trying to force everything every 10 seconds because he's got to be the guy to do it. At least that's the hope going into the season, right?
That is the hope.
That's the hope. Paul George got to be a little more comfortable. I mean, kind of to play off your point about him returning, he's looked pretty comfortable in preseason. I mean, he's looked like, hey, this is my team. Which I think is what you want. If you're Billy Donovan and Russell Westbrook isn't on the court, you want Paul to say, this is my team. Follow my lead. I'm going to take the lead here. He had 26 points in the first half the other night. Preseason, I know. Impressive, though.
I want to see more of Paul doing that when Russell is on the floor.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's a great team, and I'm going to go do some things.
Any chance? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, Russell needs to be. I have given up the idea that Russell's going to play off ball a ton, and they're going to play Schroeder and Russell together all the time, and they are going to do that a lot. Those guys are going to be on the floor a lot. The idea that Russell's going to play off the ball a lot more, I think that ship has probably sailed in Russell's career. But could he do it 4 or 5 more possessions a game?
Right.
Could you get him 2 good catch-and-shoot three-pointers to take away 2 dribble into three-point shots? You're never going to change Russell's game dramatically. Like somebody one day was saying, like, if he could just cut down on those bad 2-for-1s, you're not taking Russell Westbrook's 2-for-1s away from him. That man will cling to those until he'll take that from his cold dead hand.
Yeah.
But like just a few things, he's so much better a shooter when he doesn't put the ball on the floor at all. He's not a great shooter at any level from the three-point line, but he's about 33.5% on no dribbles.
And he's steadily gotten
solid.
better.
That's pretty good.
Right.
Everything else is below 29. You just don't, and it drops off almost with every dribble. Not exactly, but almost. So get him a couple of good catch-and-shoot shots that either Paul George or Dennis Schroeder sets up for him, and just create a little bit more havoc and give the defense a few more things to worry about. That's their ideal scenario. Will he accept it? Will he do it? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's like my question is like, is he gonna move once he doesn't have the ball in his hands? Because like last year, if you look at him, he's just as soon as the ball leaves his hands and he's not involved in the play, he's out of it completely.
And that's a habit thing with Russ, right? I mean, there's no way Russell Westbrook is sitting there going, no, not doing it, right? In his head, consciously saying, no, I'm not a team player. I'm not. Like, he's not doing that. Like, the guy wants to win, but it's just it's a bad habit thing. Like, he's got to figure out a way to make cuts to the basket when it's not just on an out of bounds play. It's got to be, maybe they run a pick and roll. He kicks it out to the wing to Schroeder, who's on the court with him, or Paul George, or whoever. And then, like you're saying, Jason, he doesn't just run to the other wing, stand there and kind of wait for the ball to make its way back to him. He keeps running action, kind of like you're saying, Brett.
It's almost like when Russ is off the ball, because when he's got the ball in his hands, he picks apart defenses really well. The way he cuts, just his dribble moves, that they're incredible. When he's off the ball, it's almost like he thinks about it too much. So he just kind of gets stuck standing there like, if I do this, what will this guy do? Instead of just doing something. And so he kind of gets caught in that no man's land. So I want to spin this off. Like you talked about, like swinging the ball around. Like that's what they want to do. Is that more of a function of that's what they want their offense to look like? Or is that a function of there aren't a whole lot of shooters on this team, and so the more ball movement, you can create those lanes to the basket?
A little bit of both. It's what Billy prefers. It's the offense that Billy Donovan likes. Multiple playmakers. One of the reasons, look, this is, I don't know if we're going to get into Billy's job status down the road or whatever, but they built a team for him. I'm not saying there's a ton of pressure. I'm not saying it's like, if they start off
you heard it here
8
first,
and 12
folks.
again or whatever. But what I'm saying is they went out and built a team that he wants. And one of the things he wants is he wants that third playmaker, and he wants that guy on the floor at the end of games. So they're going to end games with Russell and Paul and Schroeder. That's going to happen.
If
so
Roberson's healthy, where's his place in this whole thing?
at power forward with those guys, and then you've got maybe Jeremy Grant or maybe Steven Adams out there with those guys, and those guys can't shoot at all except for Paul George, and we'll figure out how that works as they go forward. But what they want is, some of it is the shooting. There's no question. They don't have a ton of it, so what can you do to create better shots? Well, one of the things you can do is you get into the middle of the defense more, and there's more guys who can do it. The other thing is, I think they believe philosophically. Now, whether Russell believes this philosophically, here's the thing, right? The end result is a good shot. What you want is a great shot. You want to get a good shot in the corner. You can get that a couple different ways, and one way you can get it is, Terrence Ferguson or Paul George or Dennis Schroeder puts the ball on the floor, and when defense rotates, they move it, and the ball goes somewhere else. Russell Westbrook might look at that and say, I can get the same shot for the same person off a drive and kick. Philosophically, some people would say that's fine. The end result is the same. And some people would say, and I think the Thunder philosophy is more, that there's a value in just everybody touching the ball, everybody feeling engaged, nobody else standing while Russell goes to work. So I think they want it for both those reasons. But that is part of it, that they just, how do you get better shots? How do you set up guys? Like, they've got to maximize Alex Abrinas and Patrick Patterson. They have to.
Right.
And that's one of the ways you do that.
Especially with this roster. Those guys have to get good looks. And like you said, you got to keep the defense guessing. I mean, it's going to become. I mean, the offense has been easily predictable for the past couple of years. When you get in crunch time, when you get into the playoffs, you know what's coming. And that's that's a fault of Russell Westbrook too, is where he won't trust. Like, to your point, like, he's gonna say, nah, I can get the ball to him. I know that I can get the ball to him. I don't know that.
Right.
Well, you can't necessarily blame him with some of the teams. You're like, I don't trust any of these guys either.
You can get it, but
now you've built a team that, in theory, does this stuff. Right. Patrick Patterson even is a ball mover, swings the ball quickly when it comes to him. Schroeder is a lot like Russ. I mean, they're different players from a physical standpoint. Their athleticism is different. One guy's more of a quick burst, and Russ is such an explosive, powerful guy. But like the style of play, just in terms of living in the paint, using the pick and roll. Look at the way Schroeder and Adams work. It looks really similar. Yeah. It's very similar looking stuff. So he's got a playmaker out there who he should be able to respect. Is he going to be able to play off that? We'll see.
And is that, like, do you think that's why the Schroeder-Adams thing just seems to work automatically? Is because they're both already like, yeah, this is what we already did.
Partially. Some of it, Adams is so good at explaining this stuff and so good at kind of talking about it. Some of it is just communication. It's just that Schroeder has a really good feel and Adams has a really good feel, and so they can say, okay, Adams can look and say, when he's coming off this screen or when he's curling this way, I know what he wants. I look where his eyes are. And they worked out some of this stuff in LA when they first played together. But some of that is just like, it's one of the things is he's just really good at it. Like, Anthony Davis makes a lot of guys look like really good pick and roll point guards because he's like one of the great pick and roll power forwards of all time. Adams is just great in it. He's just really good at it. And those two guys, both Westbrook and Schroeder, have a really good feel. So it's a great combo. But yeah, I think that's partially why it clicked so fast, is Adams is just so used to doing it with Russ.
Yeah, I was trying to make that point the other day that Adams is legit just so good. Like, he's so good. I don't think there's a point guard in the league you could stick him next to that he wouldn't figure out pretty quick how to work with him. That's kind of how he plays his role, and he plays it well.
Number 2.
That's me again.
Still you?
That was still me.
I should have replaced one of these with me and
you should have.
high pitch voiced it.
It wouldn't have been as good though, because it wouldn't have been me.
Okay. Yeah.
What are realistic expectations and goals for this year's Thunder team, and will this team that's currently constructed and the duo of Russell Westbrook and Paul George be enough to get them there?
Yeah, guys, I sent this in the Slack a few days ago. Like, I looked over the schedule. I would genuinely do not see how they don't go 82-0.
Classic.
Just every single game, it's a win. I mean, and they're winning by 15 points every night.
That is spectacularly optimistic, given that they will be heavy underdogs in the first game.
That's true.
Right.
It is on the road, and they overcome that last year, so it'll just keep it going. They will be favorites in probably every home game, except for those games against Golden State, I would assume. Maybe
The
Boston.
Rockets.
Maybe Boston.
Boston
Maybe Rockets.
See what Toronto looks like.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Yeah,
They've played very well against
Thunder
Toronto.
always play well against
Recently,
Toronto.
I mean, it's a different team, but you would
That's
think
true.
some of that carries over.
Toronto's going to be interesting, by the way. But what are the expectations? What is this? I know it's hard to speculate on stuff like this, but what do you think this organization kind of expects out of this team this year?
Home court in the playoffs, I think, is an expectation. Winning a playoff series is certainly an expectation. Beyond that, you kind of see. It depends. What do you have? How does this group come together? What's it look like after the trade deadline? Who knows? Are there going to be some changes there? But I think at minimum, those two things. They did one of those two things last year. But the fact that since Kevin Durant left, they haven't won a playoff series, I think that hangs over people, and I think there's an expectation that should end this year.
And maybe this is just the Thunder fan in me, but people also say that as if it's been 6 years. It's been 2 years,
Right.
It's a pretty solid
and one
recovery.
of them, it was Russell Westbrook,
Right.
kind of by himself.
But for the organization, that's not considered a great season.
Right.
I mean, that's the standard that they've set. So regardless of whether he was here or not, the idea is you've gone 2 years without winning a first-round playoff series.
The first year, I think, is completely fair that they didn't get out of the first round.
Yeah.
You couldn't have expected them to. Last year, failure.
Right.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this last pod, but I really like that they are taking ownership of that. Like they're like, yeah, we failed. That's not what we wanted to do, and we don't that's not what we expect.
No, I thought it was interesting. I asked Paul George something about last year. The one thing that really sort of annoyed me about them as a team last year was the whole we didn't have Patrick Patterson and Alex Arenas healthy for camp. It's like, I get that in December, but in February, let's stop talking about who wasn't healthy for camp and let's figure out
Patterson
how you
played
win games.
82 games last year.
Right. So how do you win games? And I all that stuff is real. It did set them back at the beginning, and they started 8-12. Fair. It's a reason. But you let it turn into an excuse at some point, and that's, reasons and excuses are two different things. It's a reason why they started slow, but at the end of the year, let's not hear about it. Robertson, fine, but let's not talk about that other stuff. So I asked Paul something about just not letting that become a factor, and Paul said, look, we got stuff to prove. The bottom line is we're a first-round playoff team. That's all we are. So we got something to prove to people, and I think that's the approach they should take. Last year was an unsuccessful season.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, so it's as simple as that. Home court in the playoffs, out of the first round. That seems fair to me.
Yeah, I think as long as they can get out of the first round, that's a huge deal. What if they end up what if they end up playing someone like the Rockets or Golden State
In the second round?
Yeah, or in that first round.
Oh.
If they don't get
Well,
good
then
seeding,
That's
probably a failure.
That's not been a very good year if they have to play one of those two teams. That would
It's
be
already a failure.
Yeah, that would not be very successful, I would think.
Yeah, and you're probably not getting out of the first round if that's what happened to you.
That's true.
And that's, by the way, that's not, it's not unrealistic. There's so many good teams.
Yeah.
We're going to have another situation most likely where everybody's at
just
47, 48, 40.
Yeah, like the West
65
bloodbath. If you end up playing LeBron, it's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
it's LeBron. It sucks.
I know. God, there's
He
so many
kinda just
interesting storylines,
He
man.
just wins
It's going to be
playoff
crazy.
series by himself.
We have a question that's kind of goes along those lines.
Is it outside of the realm of expect just what should be expected? Should they win the Northwest Division this year? Should that be an expectation with where they're at versus where they were last year? You're one win away.
Portland seemingly got worse.
So
didn't get better.
is that out of the realm of expectations to say they should win the division this year?
No, I don't. I guess here's the thing. I never think of it. I don't think of the division titles at all because I don't care about it. But no, it shouldn't be. They should be right there with Utah. They should be the two teams that are fighting it.
It is probably the toughest division in the NBA. It's up there with
Top to bottom, yeah.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah, I would say top to bottom. And the Atlantic's really
Yeah.
top heavy. Philly and Boston are both really good.
Yeah.
And beyond that,
Right.
You get some
Yeah,
some Knicks games.
I think I think Vegas odds have Portland finishing last. They won the division last year. That's crazy. Well, Minnesota's probably falling back now.
It's
I
also
would say.
I don't know if it's probably is the toughest if I'm not missing something in my head here. It's also easily the dumbest. It's the dumbest division.
You're right. Doesn't make any sense.
It's
It's
How have they
guys
not
up here.
even? How's there not been any conversation about realigning?
I don't get it. Here's the thing that blows my mind. It blows my mind. There's a team in Minneapolis that not only isn't in the same division as Chicago and Milwaukee, but isn't in the same conference.
Yeah.
It
That
doesn't
makes no
make any
sense at all.
sense.
Drives me insane.
Because they're like, we're going to go past
the
you
division
guys.
drive me insane. Here's what they got to do. They got to add 2, get to 32. You put those both out west. It's like Seattle and Vancouver, and then you got to move like Minnesota and either Memphis or New Orleans.
Yeah.
They got to go east, and then not only do they have to do that, then you got to realign the division.
New Orleans just looks like an Eastern Conference team to me too. Like I don't, that's just something weird in my brain.
They
But like I
probably-
just
like
look
what
at
they're
them.
supposed to
They
look
look
like.
like they look like an Eastern Conference Finals team. Is
Yeah,
That's
right.
true. That's true. Next,
Number 3.
a lot of people are going to be excited for this question. It's
I
hot
already
right now.
am. I don't
Brett,
know what it is.
Brett, you wrote about it, kind of. Has Hamidou Diallo, has his preseason play earned him real rotational minutes on this team?
Yes, he's going to play. Now, is he going to play consistently? Here's the thing: he's a rookie. My thing about preseason is some people are like, Brandon, you pointed this out. It's the first comment on my story about how many Diallo is like, it's preseason,
Right.
I know. We don't get to just ignore
You
it.
should have replied and said, "Oh,
You serious?
If only I'd mentioned it in the headline. But like, to me, you can't just ignore preseason. So you just got to say, what can we take away from it? Here's what we can take away. He's incredibly athletic.
oh my God!"
I mean, he's
Crazy.
probably he's the best athlete on the team. Probably on a team with Jeremy Grant on it. He's
and
probably the best
even
athlete.
Terrence Ferguson,
Yeah.
who shows ability to his hops in the past have been like, wow,
Right.
Hamidou Diallo jumps off the screen, man.
Yep.
Like there's
and he's stronger. He's an athlete. He's a great athlete. So he's got that athleticism. He has a couple of things he does really well. He's a very good offensive rebounder. That translates. He's always been good at it. He was good at it in college. He's good at it.
I didn't
now.
know that about him, and
Yeah.
it's impossible to ignore now.
And
Yeah,
he,
right.
he puts the ball on the floor and can make some plays. He's not a great, he's not going to break you down and set up a bunch of guys and create a bunch of corner threes. But like one of the things when they first got him, one of the first things I was told about him was go back and look, and I did. He was really high usage at Kentucky, second highest usage behind Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was their point guard, but
With
lowest
11th
turnover.
pick in the draft or whatever.
So he was their second highest usage guy and their lowest turnover percentage guy. So that tells you a little something. He is creating some, whether it's for him or for somebody else, and he's not making a lot of mistakes. So there's a lot to sort of like there. He looks to me like, and this is from talking to people in the organization too. The shot's not broken. It's not there yet, but it's not. It's you don't have to do major surgery on it. It's small tweaks. So he's gonna play. The two things you got to think about here, though: one, he's a rookie, and two, he plays for Billy Donovan. So his minutes aren't going to be consistent because Billy's he has a knack for tweaking and kind of tinkering with his rotation. But also, they're so jam packed; they got to find a lot of guys some minutes, unless they make some kind of trade at some point. So you got to get Ferguson out there, who the coaches love. What are you doing with Abrinas? TLC is an NBA player. I mean, he's like a rotation player in the NBA, and we don't have any idea what Abdel Nader is. So they've got all these guys they got to find some place for. But I think the one thing that is intriguing to me is that he might be the most like Robertson in terms of like easy to plug in to what Robertson does. So like
Yeah, because he can do those little things.
right, and you can use him in the same way. Get him on the move offensively.
Right.
Don't let him stand it. Not like, and I'm talking about like Robertson last year and 2 years ago, not the weird 3-point shooting Robertson on that broken Westbrook MVP team, but like the what you expect of Robertson: cutting, moving, catching the ball on the cut, and kicking it. He can do
Offensive
those
rebounds,
things. Right.
tips.
Exactly, that kind of stuff. So I think there's some part of me that thinks from a plug and play standpoint, he makes a lot of sense as a starter. I don't know that they're going to do that
They
because
trust him.
Billy really likes Terrence Ferguson.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Right.
really
So
like
what
him.
is it about Terrence Ferguson? Is it that he plays so within himself?
Yes, reliability is the word with him. Like Billy always talks about, he's reliable. You just kind of know what you're going to get. He never complains about anything. He just doesn't complain. He's really like one of the things coaches remark about with him all the time is you can tell him something and he absorbs it. He doesn't need to see it. He doesn't have to watch it on film. And so a guy like that, he can adjust in games. That's really helpful. Like the fact that you don't have to watch that stuff on a video screen or be drawn on a board. And they just trust him. They trust him to not make a lot of mistakes. But the interesting thing I think about Diallo, and I don't love like that we have to compare those two guys all the time. I get it from a
'Cause
playing
they
time
can
standpoint.
both
but
jump
like,
high.
Like the ideal situation for the Thunder is that they're both good and you just figure it out. Like you'd like both those guys to
Right.
be good. But the thing I think is interesting, Billy last year, I don't know how many times he said, like, Terrence is so good at what he's doing, what we're asking him to do, but we got to get that athleticism in the game. Like he's such a good athlete, we got to find ways to get it in the game. And what he means is make it impactful. Well, in preseason, Diallo was there. I mean, like he's there with that. You see his athleticism. You never say like Did Diallo play those
Yeah.
5 minutes? Like
Right.
you saw him do something, and that's what you're talking about. A little bit of reckless abandon, crashing the glass.
A little Russell Westbrook
really,
in him.
like a block that makes you go, oh, like that was something. And so like he gets that stuff in the game. Now I think Ferguson is right now and probably projects as a better shooter, and that's a
Right.
part of this. And then defensively, I think they love what both of those guys will ultimately bring. So I don't know that, has he leapfrogged Ferguson? It's a bad time to get a concussion. I'll say that because he's
Right.
played very well. But he's going to play some minutes. He's not going to be – when they drafted him, I thought he was going to play more minutes with the Blue than with the Thunder. Same
Yeah,
thing.
we did the
Same thing I thought about Ferguson last year. Was wrong about Ferguson. Think I'm going to be wrong here too. I think he's not going to play much at all with the Blue.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the commenter said. It's preseason, but whatever. I mean, like, you
looks-
can't.
Let's overreact.
You can't. You
It's
also
fun to do that.
You can't ignore it though. You
Right,
can't
it
ignore
happened,
those
and
things.
You got to take something out of it. Look, I understand the Bucks team he played was like
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
it was like Marquette. He was like playing Marquette.
right. But the fact that like he's playing so hard. Like
Yeah.
you can see it in him, and that's big to me that he's not afraid to make a mistake. And I think Terrence Ferguson, sometimes you watch him, he might be a little afraid to make a mistake sometimes.
Yeah, he does not lack confidence. He's a classic New Yorker in that way. Like he is very New
love
York
it.
in that sense. He's very, very confident. He doesn't seem phased, and he's also really driven by getting taken 45th. He's pissed about it. He doesn't like
Good.
it.
I like that.
And he does look like one of those guys where 2 years from now, like 30 teams are gonna be like, oh, we almost took Hamidou Diallo,
Right.
but what happened was
Right. And I know a concern for him coming into the NBA, and he was terrible in summer league from the line, was he not? And he was really bad and not good in college either.
Nope.
Am I wrong about that?
fits right in here.
I mean, only 11 free throw attempts in the preseason,
Perfect.
but he was 9 for 11 from the line. That's something.
And he is going to get there because
You know-
he does use his athleticism in ways that are going to get him to the line.
And his shot, to me, like, there's been people that say he has a hitch in his jump shot, and I don't see a hitch. I can understand that it's not consistent. Maybe that his form isn't consistent. It's not, as a jump shooter, you want your shot to be the same every single time you go up. His isn't.
Right, and I talked to somebody who's known him for a long time and said that's been a thing like way, way back. He's a way better shooter than he was as like a sophomore in high school, and that's when this person that I was talking to first kind of got acquainted with him. But he was like, that's been the thing. Even as he's worked on it, it's been this time it's this release, and this time it's this release, and this time his feet are like this. But that is stuff you will iron out. That's when they talk about his shot. That's why they tell me that like you don't have to do major surgery. It's you don't need to tear it down and start over.
That's
you
huge.
just got to find a way to get him to do the best thing every time.
To me, that's big. I mean, because now you're doing this for your life. I mean, every day.
Right.
Every day for a long time. He's going to figure that part out, you would assume.
Yeah.
Right, and with the same coaches who's, he's been high school, 1 year college, then working out with somebody privately. Now you're with a group
true.
of coaches who are going to be around you all the time, every day, and not just the Kentucky guys are good at that sort of stuff, development stuff, but not like these guys, not like this where you're doing it all the time.
There's reason to be excited about Hamidou Diallo, I think. And, I was skeptical about his impact that he could make, and I still don't think that he's going to make some gigantic impact on this team this season, but man, it's pretty cool that the Thunder might have got a second rounder that might play real minutes.
Yeah.
When's the last time that
That's
happened?
a huge success
for
to
the
me.
Thunder.
And not just a second rounder, but middle where like the kind of guy, like if he's good, he'll be one of those guys on the broadcast where they're like, stick around because Hamidou Diallo went here and you never know.
Yeah.
Please keep watching.
Next.
Numero cuatro.
Throwing a little Spanish in there. All right. Whether it's a team, a weakness, or any other factor, what will be the Thunder's biggest obstacle to overcome this season on the way to success? I'm going to throw this one to you, Justin.
Looking at last season, I think it's injuries right now, especially with where Russ is, with where Andre Robertson just had that setback. You need Robertson to be full strength with this team. You need Russ to be as healthy as possible, which I don't think that's a huge concern right now, but it sticks in the back of your mind. Adams has been banged up. That's a huge thing with Nerlens Noel coming in. Like, you don't have to put him through the ringer as much. Hell, Paul George just had a procedure done. So I think injuries are your first thing. Like, the Thunder have kind of gotten the short end of the stick over the last several years. It seems like every year there's one big injury that kind of derails everything, especially when they have a lot of promise. So I think injuries are the biggest thing to get over. And like, if you can stay healthy, especially in this league where things are so dynamic, where things are changing all the time, if you can stay healthy from October until the playoffs roll around, I think that's your biggest obstacle to overcome.
I really thought you were going to go shooting because you of all people have been the one that said, "Man, does this team have the shooting?"
Mm-hmm.
And you went injuries here, which I think is right because it honestly, I mean, you can look at the bright side. We talked about this the last podcast. The Robertson setback. If they are able to push through that and they're able to find themselves with him being out, man, that makes them so much better of a team once he is ready to come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gives everybody experience and a chance to kind of blend in with the team and like figure out what they're supposed to do. And then when he comes back, everybody can kind of relax a little bit more, like those young guys at least.
If you
and it gives you trade chips.
Yeah,
That's the thing,
exactly.
you're developing guys behind him.
If some of those guys too, if you hit on some of those guys, TLC plays well, Diallo plays well, Ferguson plays well, and you decide you don't want to keep both of those guys because they're too valuable, and you can get something. You're like, maybe you're in second in the West, and you're 45 games in. Like, wow, we're having a really good season. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Ferguson's having a really nice season, shooting 42% from three. See what we can get for him. We have
that'd be
Diallo,
sweet.
Whatever. There's situations. Maybe things might turn for the Thunder here, where they won't have to deal with the injuries like you're talking about. They won't have the bad luck.
But there's the idea that you can guys get better as they progress in age, like through the league. Like they get better. They get better at shooting. This offense can find a way to fit some groove. If it's like what Brett was saying, like moving the ball a bunch and like finding ways to create offense. I don't think you need to be as worried about the offense as like you really do have to be worried about injuries because look, if Russ goes down,
Yeah, do that.
there is nothing. There's nothing you can do. I mean, there's no coming back from that.
Yeah, there's when I covered Kentucky, John Calipari he would say, like, some people would say like his best teams, they weren't deep enough. Like the team he won a title with, they would say, well, you kind of lack some depth. And he would say, you know what, like, was I supposed to get 2 Anthony Davises? If he gets hurt, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how deep my team is. There are guys you can't replace, and that's one of them. Injuries is the thing to me. It's the most important thing, but assuming health, I think what's going to be the big obstacle for them is, like, getting groups on the floor where things balance out. You've got some lineups that can shoot, but can they defend anybody? You've got some lineups that can defend. Can they make any shots? You've got good lineups with playmakers, but can those guys make any shots or defend? Like, those are going to be the... This is, to me, a really interesting year for Billy, just in terms of all he has to work with. There are some holes as well. So it's like maximizing what you've got and then minimizing those weaknesses, and shooting being the most glaring probably of those.
But to that point, this team, at least on paper, they are more equipped to deal with that, right? Wouldn't you say?
Well, he's got a lot of parts.
From last year.
Yeah, like they have a ton of parts. And like, if you look at what they've done, I said they built a team like for Billy, and they really did. Carmelo's gone, Schroeder's in. You lose a guy toward the end of your bench like Dakari Johnson. You've replaced him with a guy like Abdul Nader. Like, we don't know where he fits in the mix. But, like, they put a lot of guys on the team who are just that kind of more versatile. The bigger kind of guy is gone. Even Nerlens Noel. Nerlens is a really good passer. Yep. He's a guy who fits. You can plug him in a couple different places. Maybe on occasion you can play him with Adams. He does stretch the floor at least to 15, 18 feet. They'll do that a little. I don't think they'll do it a ton. But they've got a lot of versatility, a lot of pieces, the kind of stuff that Billy likes to kind of play with.
Right, and like him being a tinkerer, they're like, here's a bunch of Lego pieces, and you just build stuff with them.
Yeah, and they're versatile Lego pieces. You can bend them this way.
Change them.
Yeah, exactly.
Not like this little guy.
Yeah.
Number 5.
This is a tough one.
Got a little gruff there.
Yeah.
Did I? Did I have some phlegm in that one?
That was nice.
Given all of the surgeries and the fact that he'll turn 30 this season, is it time to start worrying about the decline? Is it time to start worrying about the decline of Russell Westbrook and his overpowering athleticism?
No.
Next.
He's a robot, so no.
This is a fair question, is it not? We can't just be all
homers?
Yeah. Bubbles
got
and
this
flowers.
locked down,
That's not
bro.
a thing people say. But
Bubbles and flowers.
bubbles and bubbles you blow.
So I'll go trying to stick to who I am. I'll waffle on this one. I'll say yes and no. Like, obviously, you're seeing a trend where you do have to get more worried because he is getting older, and like his body's not just going to hold up to how he was playing when he was 24 and just going reckless abandon, or 25 doing the same thing, or 26 or 27. He's been doing this for a long time. These joints are not made to do that over a long. There's a reason why guys that are 33 in the NBA are considered really old. Yeah, because your body just can't do that anymore. So yeah, it's time to start worrying a little bit about it. Russ seems like the guy that he's kind of built differently. He's kind of built like a guy that can play this way into his early 30s. He's going to have to start to like temper it, and I think we're going to start to see that maybe not this year, but next year into the later parts of this contract. The one thing that why I say no though, like this is a procedure that he's had done regularly since he tore that meniscus. Like they've been going in doing some stuff. Like you just kind of have to maintenance on the knee. I'm not too worried. He's come back every year. He's been fine. He's played the same way. But yeah, it is something that just kind of like I said, in the back of your mind, just start to think about it. But I don't think it's going to affect him this season.
Well, with Russ, like the good thing about him is he's a really smart person, and I think he can start to figure out ways to utilize other strengths of his if he has to stop just barreling over people.
Do you think we saw a little bit of that decline in athleticism, or at least confidence in his own athleticism, in the first round series against Utah last year, where he really didn't challenge Gobert a whole lot? He's usually been a guy that he's not scared in his history, but it was a thing. Like you could tell Gobert was in his head a little bit. He didn't really want to.
Yeah, that might have been as much Gobert as him. I don't know. Gobert does that to a lot of people.
Sure.
The thing I would say about Russell, like, if it was did you phrase it, is it time to start worrying about it?
Yeah.
It probably is. I mean, like, this is going to happen eventually.
Right.
But he's still pretty young, even in basketball years. He takes impeccable care of his body. He's really regimented about how he takes care of himself and what he eats and how he works out and all that sort of stuff. That's encouraging. He's like a mini LeBron in a lot of ways. He has been injured more than LeBron. LeBron is impervious to pain, so that's like a rarity. But he is similar in the sense of how he conditions himself and takes care of himself. He doesn't put it out there for everybody in the same way that LeBron does. It's just because Russell doesn't really put much out there except himself singing.
Which is a really cool thing
seat of his car.
about Russell Westbrook, by the way.
Just maybe watch the road, though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true. But maybe he's got a self-driving car. We don't know this.
But I think the thing is we should consider at least the possibility that Russell's just getting procedures done on his knee so he can skip preseason and media opportunities and all that stuff. You never know.
I like that theory. I like it.
It's probably not true, but like, would it be outrageous?
No.
The NFL guys do it, right? They're like, I'm just not going to do camp.
Really?
Isn't that a thing? Aren't there quarterbacks who are like,
that sounds like a definite thing that would happen.
That's really interesting, though. I mean, because
it's totally irresponsible.
He looks
to throw it
fine.
out there. I don't think it's what he's doing, but I mean,
Right.
I'm just thinking about he really
Reckless
doesn't like talking to
speculation.
us, and he hasn't talked to us all preseason for 2 straight years.
wow. I mean, he played.
It's a smart move if that's what he's doing.
We got to see it a lot this summer. Him playing those pickup games that you don't get to see very often. I mean, I've even been critical of him in the past. I'm like, are you playing basketball this summer, Russ?
Yeah.
Like, I need to see it, please. This season, we see he's playing a lot. Like, it is interesting if he's playing a lot of pickup ball in the summer. Like, does it just happen? Like, one day he goes home and it's like,
A little sore.
Yeah, I'm a little sore.
Yeah, I mean, that was my understanding of this one. It just like one weekend, it was kind of bothering him. He had been playing. He'd been in LA playing. It started to bother him. They went and looked at it and said, it's probably nothing, but like we could do it now and take care of it and not risk having to do something in the season.
Yeah.
So, by all accounts, though, not a major surgery.
Scopes happen all the time, and a scope doesn't necessarily mean nothing, but it also doesn't necessarily mean that it's a big deal. Scopes happen. I mean, that's what Paul George had done as well. Scopes are routine. It doesn't. Sometimes there's something there. My understanding here, they were never panicked about this when it happened, and like people are like, I know people get mad because today was the 4-week mark, and yesterday was the 4-week mark, and they didn't put out any kind of update or whatever. It's just not what they do. You say 4 weeks because. Here's the truth of the matter, right? And this is not coming from the Thunder. This is my understanding of the world. If they had said on September 12th, Russell Westbrook had a procedure on his knee, he'll be out indefinitely.
Yeah.
People would just set stuff on fire. And like, it would be insane.
Wow, he's missing the next 2 years.
So you got to say something. You have to say something. And so you say, in 4 weeks, we'll take a look at him again. The funniest thought about this, though, and this is just hilarious to me. The idea that like Donnie Strack, their medical guy, was like yesterday, Russell walked in to get evaluated, and Donnie's like, hey, haven't seen you in 4 weeks. It's Russell's knee.
Yeah.
They look at it every day. I mean,
Right.
it's not like the 4-week thing is just sort of a thing. It's not like in 4 weeks he'll go back to the doctor. He's being evaluated constantly. Billy Donovan gets a report every day. What can guys do in practice? He's getting one with Russell every single day. So it's not like I get why people think like, oh, we had to do something on the 12th. They had to send something out. It's just not the way it works.
One of the more interesting things to me about Russell Westbrook, obviously he's already a Hall of Fame player by far. He's been a great player his entire career. It's going to be so interesting watching this guy go forward, like in his 30s.
Yeah.
How does his game develop? What does he do to make up for that loss in athleticism that is going to inevitably happen?
Well, I mean, there's an obvious thing to do. We'll just see if he does it. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Can he become a plus 3-point shooter, or even just a league average 3-point shooter?
Damn, he'd be badass if he could do that.
Oh yeah, it's been like the last 3 years. We're like, if Russ can shoot 35, 36% from three this year, Thunder are going to be amazing.
That's about league average, I think. 35 is about your league average.
Which, if you shoot the ball like Russell Westbrook shoots the ball, meaning
all the time.
how many, the volume of them, I mean, that's pretty good. You'll take that. I mean, Harden shot like 33, 34% in the past 2 years. Everyone considers James Harden a really great 3-point shooter because he is, but he takes a lot of them. Obviously, he plays for the Rockets.
He does.
Next.
Play for the Rockets.
Thank you. Thank you for confirming
Number
that.
6.
Let me check here. Rosters. Yep, there's Harden.
Yep, there he is, right there.
Jason.
Huh?
I'm interested in your take on this one.
I'm about to get pissed
And then
off.
also Brett's too. Fouls are up a bunch this preseason.
God, they are.
Referees are emphasizing freedom of movement off the ball. Will this continue throughout the season? Every year there's these new emphasis on fouls, on rules, whatever. And if it does continue throughout the season, does it help or hurt the Thunder and the game itself? The overall game?
I mean, so far in the preseason, a lot of the games have been almost unwatchable just due to the amount. I feel like they've been taking like 4 hours.
Yeah, not only is it preseason. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's been absurd. So I think it's going to come down some. I hope they're going to not be that strict on stuff. But I feel like the players also have to adjust to it, and that's one thing they've been doing is like, hey, we're watching you on this a lot closer, and now they have a chance to kind of reacclimate themselves to, okay, well, this is a thing I have to stop doing. I can't travel, I can't take 4 steps and not get called on it. Does it help or hurt so I think at like the first of the season it might be a little bad, and then it's going to kind of like even out at some point when they both kind of readjust. Does it help or hurt them?
The reason I asked that is
it can help them.
The Thunder have been such a physical team in the past. Is the way they play.
Right. Like it seemed like they, like in the first parts of these preseason games, they've been fouling a ton, but then they're like, oh, okay, stop doing that. And then they start using it to their advantage, and they've shot really well from the line also once they've gotten there in preseason. So I think it could help.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
2 little inside things here. One, the first game, I guess, Paul George played the first game, right? The Detroit game. He got called for one of those off-ball fouls, and he told the official, I can't wait to get them calls. Like when I'm on offense in season, if you're going to call this is going to be great for me, is what he was telling him. You know, like, I'm looking forward to this.
And he's the guy that will get them. That's for sure.
And we'll let you know if he doesn't also.
Absolutely, we will.
That's the Paul George way.
Yeah.
I always say if Paul George is good enough to get a statue here, it should be him. Should be him doing that.
Hey, but that really might help Paul George because he struggled getting calls at the rim.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets the calls away from the rim.
And then the other thing, I talked to an NBA veteran, like a guy who's been in the league for a while, and what he told me was, some of it is real, the preseason calls. Some of it is, hey, we're not kidding about this, so like get serious, and we're going to call it like this in preseason, and you're going to adjust, and then the players will start to adjust, and as they do, the referees will kind of meet them in the middle as the regular season gets started.
Going to make an example.
Yeah, so we're going to say you're at this level, you got to get down. You're at level 10, you got to come down on this to 5, and then right now we're calling it at 1. We're calling it all the time. We'll come meet you in the middle eventually. So these points of emphasis always tend to fade away. They're calling these so adamantly in the preseason because they really do care about it. They really do want to get you more freedom of movement. They want to, encourage offense, and so they're just letting you know it's serious.
The interesting thing is how is it treated in the playoffs when?
Yeah.
Probably goes away entirely.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's gonna be hard to enforce because it's gonna happen every play.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing the Warriors, you can't just let Curry run without putting a body on him.
Yeah. And I think like what you're saying, like if they just kept this amount, like this rate of calling these fouls into the regular season, it's unwatchable. Like I'm gonna be stabbing my eyes.
You can't have a 3.5 hour game.
Paul was talking the other day. Like, are these games are longer, right? Because you notice they're calling everything.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's weird.
Do you guys worry about Dre at all going into this season with all these calls? Like,
I don't really see. And interesting, Brett's answer on this. I don't really see Brett. I don't really see Dre as a super physical defender as far as grabbing and like he's just so solid. He's so fundamental.
Yeah.
I think it's part of some of the things I've seen where it's just been a body rather than the grabbing.
Yeah.
Where they're having, and maybe it goes back to they're just trying to make examples, but I'm worried about that Dre trying to cut a guy off.
Right.
And I'm calling that every time. He's so quick with his feet, and he'll beat you to the spot. I'm a little worried about it because that
Offensive
diminishes.
Yeah.
That especially diminishes Dre's value out there. But if you take that away from Andre Robertson, it almost becomes, I don't want to say impossible to get him on the floor, but you take away that strength, that's a scary thing for the Thunder.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm
That's
worried
the thing
about.
he's elite at. And
I would agree. I would worry more about how it'll impact a guy like Adams than I would
Yeah.
worry about how it will impact Dre. Because Dre is, he's not only, I'm with you, I don't think he's particularly like a hands, I don't think he's a hands-on defender a lot. He's a beat you to the spot defender. Adams is a physical guy, and there's going to be, in those situations. Now, the one thing is, how much are people cutting by Adams? How much is he grabbing them as they go by? That's where you got to have some concerns. And so, it's going to be interesting to see. I think it should benefit them more offensively if they're doing the kinds of things they talk about doing offensively than it hurts them defensively.
which Billy actually, they like brought refs in pretty early.
Yeah,
in
he
camp,
did.
right?
He did it in. He did it in scrimmages.
Which I would assume most teams are doing that,
Yeah, I would hope so.
except the Kings.
But he did it first day,
Got him.
first or second day, and it was it was for that reason. He just wanted to focus on the things that were changing. They wanted to get some live play with the new shot clock reset as well. Just get them used to it.
I think that you have to pay the referees to do that.
I assume
Under the
so.
table,
I wonder how much.
I get paid to go to practice. I would hope those guys are getting paid to be there.
it would make sense.
That's true.
Everybody
It'd
else
be
is.
weird if they just
Everybody-
volunteered.
Everybody
Yeah.
in the building is getting paid to be there. I would hope that those guys are no
Yeah.
exception.
All right, next.
Number 7.
Last season, Jeremy Grant made significant strides during the season. As the season went along, he improved. Who's that guy this year?
Terrence Ferguson. And I think one, because he's gonna jump in early, be that kind of. He's
gonna have a lot of opportunity.
He's not gonna be Dre, but he's gonna be that Dre-like guy. And I think he's had that full season under his belt. He knows what to do. He knows what to expect. He's gotten his body right over the off season. Like he's much more of an NBA type body now. Just the rigorous workouts he's gone through, and I just think I really do think it's Ferguson. I think that corner three has been good. He's got the athleticism to cut and be really effective in an offense, especially if it's moving the ball quite a bit. He's going to have those lanes. He's going to be forgotten about on the floor with Russ and PG on the floor, with Steven Adams on the floor, with Dennis Schroeder on the floor. He's going to find these open spots, and I think he's going to get so much opportunity. And it's almost like he's going to be set up to be so successful that he can't not be the guy in this offense.
I am going to go Patrick Patterson. I think last year his role was just like taken away from him basically, and he had to play a different thing. Melo was in his way, had the whole surgery thing, and Brett's story on The Athletic, which you should subscribe to. It's a very good story.
Athletic.com/NBA expansion.
There you go.
Get you a little discount.
Plug it in there. But basically, you had talked about it. He kind of completely changed his diet over the offseason.
Yep.
And he looks real good. And I just feel like him getting back into his position, getting to hopefully start, I assume he's going to start still. I just think he's going to look a lot better than he did last year.
Any other candidates here?
I'm going to take a weird one, and it's. I don't want this to. This guy's not going to average 10 and 5 or anything.
He's going to average
But
10 and
in
5.
terms of like, if you talk about a guy who I think could get steadily better over the course of the year, I think a really strong candidate for that is Nerlens Noel, who was kind of sort of banished in Dallas through some fault of his own, no question. I think he's in a place where he feels really supported, where he feels like it's an important year, and he does a lot of things I think that make them better. One of the things we always talk about the way they fall off offensively when Westbrook's off the court. That's happened to a certain extent with Adams as well defensively. Yep. So I think he gives you a little bit of a presence there in the middle of the floor, a better rim protector actually than Adams.
Yep.
And then offensively, he's a good ball mover. He's got a great vision when he's standing at the free throw line at the elbow. He can be on that right elbow and see the left corner really well. He generates a lot of shots that way. And I just think he's in a developmental program where I think he's got a chance to, Jeremy Grant was in a similar situation, came from Philly. These guys are good. This is what they do. Development is part of what they do. And he's not that old. He's still a 24, 25-year-old guy. I think he's got a chance to make some strides.
Is the opportunity going to be there for him?
If he does what they want him to do, yes, because there's going to be some minutes at backup center. They're going to have some minutes available there.
So let's say you're talking, they don't want to play Adams. I wouldn't assume more than 32, 33 minutes a night. Like, I've made this point in this podcast numerous times that I feel like maybe I'm making it up. because I don't ever hear anyone talking about it. But I feel like as the season progresses, you get into game 75, you start seeing Adams kind of wear down a little bit. The attrition's getting to him. That guy, what he has to do throughout the season beats him up. And then by the time you roll around to the playoffs, he wasn't very good against the Jazz last year. Obviously, Gobert's a big part of that. Yeah. But, and just the way the Jazz play.
Right.
But if you can get Noel, I mean, how much, because how much are they going to play together?
Very little.
Seems hard to see that happening a lot. But you still, like you said, you want Adams on the court, so...
Yep. I just think in terms of... Here's the other thing. I'm set up to be really right about this because Nerlens will get way better at dunking over the course of the year.
Yeah.
He has to.
And
He'll
just
make
the
a lot
fact
more dunks.
that...
And I can just be like, look, that's all I meant.
Just the fact that...
His dunks went actually into the thing instead of out of it.
Yeah.
And when this team's healthy, there's going to be offense that this team, they can run with the second unit. Whereas last year, Raymond Felton's your point guard. Patrick Patterson's your backup 5, or Jeremy Grant, however you want to put that. Those aren't guys that are going to come to the high post and pivot with the ball above their head looking for the backdoor cut. Noel can do that. Like you can really, and you have Schroeder also.
Yeah, that helps.
If you're going to play fast, and that's the thing. Now the interesting thing is going to be how much. I keep telling everybody this. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm unless something changes, it's going to be right. Schroeder will be on the floor at the end of virtually every game. So do they at some point say, well, we're going to end that way. Why not just start that way? Why not just roll him out there with the starters? In which case, Raymond Felton is still your backup point guard. So we'll see how that goes. Even if they do that, though, they're going to stagger some. They would keep Schroeder out there at some minutes where he's running the show without Russ.
I'm interested to hear your take on Raymond Felton's role on this team. We're going to save that for the last question that we have. So next.
Which one are we on?
8.
We're building up to Raymond Felton.
Almost clicked the wrong one.
Yeah, he's there.
Number 8.
The Thunder will reach its pinnacle if blank exceeds expectations. Opinions. We're taking them. It's tough. This is a tough question because I'm wording it like it's a player, but it doesn't have to be a player. You can say 3-point shooting exceeds expectations. You can say...
You know what? I'll jump in.
Okay.
Because I feel confident, and this is kind of the stance I've taken, and I'm going to stay firm on it. If the offense exceeds expectations, I think we all... I want to be very careful with the way I phrase this because I think
in
we
this
all
climate,
know,
you better.
I think we all know what the defense can be. I think the offense is really the big wild card here. So your ceiling and your floor are like you've got a high ceiling but a high floor with the defense. You've got a decently high ceiling but a relatively low floor with this offense. If this offense exceeds expectations, then they're going to be really, really special. If they can figure out how to do things without the shooting, because they don't have that much. If they can either find one other shooter, if some guy just comes out of the woodworks, let's say Terrence Ferguson starts just draining him, or TLC steps in and starts hitting threes, or even just take a step in, hit a 20-footer, hit something else that's not just cutting to the basket. If this offense can find a way to be so consistent, and that defense, which we know can lock people down, go out there every night and hold people to, let's say a sub 100 game all the time. Like, this is a team that can do really special things. The offense has to figure itself out.
I'll go the exact opposite way. I think if their defense without Robertson exceeds expectations,
because it was terrible without Robertson.
Garbage. So can they stay afloat defensively? Can they be a good, solid top 10, 12 defense and then get him back at some point and elevate themselves defensively? If they can just not take on a bunch of water in the boat when he's out, then I think they really got something.
And a lot of that, how much of that lies on Paul George?
Tons.
A lot.
Is he ready to do that? Like, that's he's coming back thinking Robertson's going to be ready. Wow, I'm going to be back in that comfortable position where I don't really have to put 100% effort on defense. I can save it for offense. I can go out and score 25 a game, have a career year offensively. Maybe he's not really set up to do that anymore, at least for the first half of the season.
Yep. Good defense starts on the ball, and he's their best on-ball defender without Robertson. Now, let's say this. Westbrook could be better. He could be way better. And he could be more consistent in his effort. And that's where I think it needs to start, because the thing about Paul is, even when he's not at his best, he's still really good defensively. Russell needs to get to a baseline that's pretty good, instead of nights of greatness and nights of just complete disinterest.
Yeah, because if you have Russ and Schroeder on the floor at the same time and they're both doing that, you're going to get you're going to get
I've
eaten
also
up.
loved that Schroeder's just picking people up like full court the whole game.
He's definitely trying to make it a point that I'm gonna put in effort defensively.
Seriously, Sam Presti said at his preseason press conference he has a chance to be an elite defender, and like sometimes Sam's talking, I kind of zoned out, and I was like, did he just say
Yeah.
that? Did he just, I followed up after. I was like, are you sure?
Can you say that one more time?
We talked to Jeff Siegel, who covers the Hawks, and he told us that Schroeder's rookie season, his second season, that he was fantastic.
That's the point, is that he used to be good. And that's the thing, is that they're saying, when they say he has a chance to be an elite defender, they're saying he's proven it, and it's a tactic to say to him, do what you used to do.
This is what we need out of you.
One thing that was cool to me is that he brought that up, or like said that in his own media day thing, where he was like, I used to be really good at this, and I'm going to do it again. And I was like, I feel like that's good self-awareness to at least like just be able to say that.
Definitely, because you can take those 3 for 11 shooting nights from Schroeder if he's playing solid defense.
Yeah.
Well,
and he's getting 5-6 assists.
The guys he watched growing up were really good defenders. The guys he really focused in on, Chris Paul, who's always been probably a little underrated as a defensive point guard, and Rondo, who at that time was good and not now. but then
Also,
was.
very good at shouting at people. Chris Paul
Yes.
loves it.
And crying.
And fake laugh. The fake laugh. So good.
So I would just go with
And not making the Western Conference Finals
oh
until last year.
Sick burn.
Finally
Yeah, someone's going to be my rookie.
Here I would just go with the combination of Russ and Schroeder playing together. I think if that exceeds expectations, this team's going to be really,
good
really
one.
damn good.
That's a good one. If those two can play at a high level together,
Yeah.
it'd be tough.
You got one?
No,
No?
I just agree with
wrote
all
the
of you.
thing. It's fine.
Just the moderator here.
You had to do the sound recordings.
Yeah, I'm doing
Number
that live.
9.
I did that.
While
It's
you
like
were
a
talking, that's
ventriloquist.
impressive.
The general consensus has the Thunder finishing at the 3rd seed in the West. With that being said, which team will be the Thunder's biggest challenger for that 3rd seed?
Boy, that's an interesting question, because it depends on who you think is the 2 seed. And do you
I think
it's Houston or not?
look, we're going with the popular vote here, which people are saying
Okay.
Houston.
Then it's Utah. Is their toughest competition for
I
that?
concur.
That's it. That's easy for you.
To me, yeah.
That'd be easier for me too. There's some people that probably say Lakers.
No, that's correct.
What about the Nuggets surprising people? What about the Spurs surprising some people?
I think the Spurs might surprise some people.
gonna
I
be
don't
exciting.
mean that way. I think the Spurs
Oh.
might be worse than we think. Yeah.
Well,
Is it
DeJounte
finally that
Murray-
time?
I mean, that's the
That's a
reason.
pretty
That's the
big
big
hit.
reason for me.
Yeah, but-
Murray's really good, and they
Yeah.
were really excited about how good he is.
Well, he's so
That
good at
to me is-
fitting
Yeah.
what they do.
Right.
I think. And now Patty Mills is going to be your starting point guard. Man, that's not going to.
It's hard to pick the Spurs to miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
But
That's
somebody
very
who
difficult.
made it last year isn't. At least one team
Mm-hmm.
who made it isn't. And I know Portland is popular to say, but like the Spurs could be right there. There's a couple teams ready to pounce. Denver is probably going to get one of those spots. The Lakers are probably going to get one.
Yep.
So somebody's got to go.
And the Pelicans, I'm not convinced they're not better.
I have no sense of how to feel about them.
I
No
don't-
clue at all.
It's a very confusing place.
I really like the way Julius Randle fits there. I think he's a really good fit. I think that he's going to be a guy that you're going to see. You have another guy that's going to set up Anthony Davis repeatedly. Like he has that ability. He has that Blake Griffin like distributing
Yeah.
ability.
Well, and there's also
He can run the floor.
Just
So-
allergic to threes, though. That's the weird thing
Sure.
about him is like you're playing a guy in the front court with Davis who just really doesn't stretch it.
well,
yeah,
and then
but Davis might be the stretcher.
Maybe. But like when they were at their best with Davis and Cousins, one of the reasons was both those guys could step out. Randall can't do that. Mirotic
Oh, God.
can step out and do that.
Mirotic was great with them
Yeah,
last
that's
year.
a good combination.
It
A
just
lot of that
reminded
comes down
me.
to Davis being willing to play center, which in the past he's been very reluctant. They're a weird team to me. And also, I don't like Elfrid Payton much
Right.
as a player, and I also don't like the idea of playing Drew Holiday at point guard because he's such a good defensive player.
I agree.
And he puts forth so much energy on that end of the floor that I don't think you want him. Shouts out to my buddy Adam. I was talking about this with him today. He's a big Pelicans fan. You don't want him having to do that too. You don't want him responsible for running the offense, and I don't trust Elfrid Payton, even though I think he will be 5% better without the hair.
yeah, that hair is going to help
True.
him a lot.
It'd be weird if that actually does happen. He is better without the hair.
It's gonna happen.
Everyone's like, well, dude,
You could have done this the whole time.
You didn't know?
You
had
blocked your own shots.
You had an awning on your head.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad history of that there though, because like I remember when I covered them, Luke Babbitt cut his hair and just went straight. His game just went straight to crap.
Oh no.
He was such a good shooter with the hair, and then without the hair,
Didn't have anything to hide
lost it.
behind
He was
anymore.
Like, he was like
Ooh.
is Samson. Was Samson the hair?
Yes,
That
Samson
sounds like
Delilah.
a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next. Or
Okay.
And
Such a good
finally,
transition.
number 10.
Last one. And this is going to be good because I want everyone to know what to expect on opening night. And so I expect you guys to nail this 100% correctly. The players that will be in Billy Donovan's main rotation on opening night. Now, this is tough because who knows about Russell Westbrook. So
let's say he's there.
we'll say he's there, and we'll put a wild card if he's not there.
Yeah.
Those players will be who? Now we can,
You want to just go around?
let's do
Let's
yeah.
just-
Westbrook.
Westbrook,
Russ, Paul George,
Steven Adams.
Patrick Patterson,
Dennis Schroeder.
yeah, Jeremy Grant.
Jeremy Grant,
Terrence Ferguson.
Terrence
If
Ferguson.
he's healthy. Opening night,
Yeah.
questionable, but by then
healthy,
probably.
He should be out of concussion protocol
Yeah,
by then,
by then.
right?
If he's healthy, you think he starts?
Yes, I do.
I
Because I
agree.
don't think they're going to start Westbrook Schroeder the first
Yeah.
from the get-go.
Yeah.
And if he's
Well, I
ready
even
to go...
mean Diallo
and
or
and I think if Ferguson's ready to go, he starts over Diallo.
I agree, and Abrinas too. Which Abrinas would be another.
Yeah,
another
Brees
pick
is
for
the
me.
other guy. How many are you at there?
We're at 8.
So
Felton,
He's in there.
I think so. That's
Without-
where I wanted to get
without
to.
question.
I think because before when the Thunder acquired all these wings, I'm thinking Felton might be the guy that falls out of the rotation. Then you watch preseason, you're like, there's no way they're dropping
Billy
him out.
loves him. I mean, like Billy's got some guys. And,
He's confident.
And Ferguson's a guy, and Felton's a guy. He likes those
Yeah,
guys.
because Felton is not scared. He's going to go on the
Right.
court, and yeah, he
Not
might
at all.
shoot 3 for 11, take terrible long twos, contested. He's not going to make a lot of plays for others, but he's not scared, and he's going to go out there and
Yep.
and defenders respect him
Yep.
for whatever reason.
And
they
he
do.
will.
Noel.
He might cost you
Yeah.
some games,
There's
and
10.
he will win you some games. I mean, like there's one game last year he won the game. They lose the game at Charlotte if
Mm-hmm.
not for him.
oh yeah, that's 100% right.
Very true. He really started to get bad as the season went on. That's 10
Actually,
guys.
watch that here.
So that's interesting. So we got to 10 there without TLC.
No TLC.
And Nader, I don't think would be in the rotation on
Nope.
opening night anyway. He's done so little in camp. He's just been so unavailable to
Right.
them.
Is it just his
that I don't think
knees?
that. Yeah, he's just got a sore knee, and they haven't gotten much out of him. And so Billy Donovan said today that he doesn't want to act like he doesn't know anything about him, but he just has no sense of how he fits. He just hasn't been able to see anything. I'm reluctant. So we don't have TLC or Diallo in there. And
Oh,
both those guys
yeah.
are going
Diallo.
to get some.
One of
Both
those
those guys
dudes
are going to
are
get some
getting-
minutes.
He might play 11 opening night. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not. I wouldn't put that past Billy.
And I think we're gonna get into one of those Billy Donovan situations where, like, for 2 weeks it's TLC, and then Diallo comes on and does some stuff because it's just a philosophy for Billy. You don't let anybody just atrophy at the end of the bench. You want to keep everybody engaged because then his whole thing is like if you go a month and a half without playing Hamidou Diallo, and then all of a sudden Terrence Ferguson's hurt, and you got to ask Diallo to play a bunch, it's really not fair. So his belief is you always find ways to get those guys. That's going to be a real balancing act if Diallo is in fact good enough to get minutes, because now you've got somebody has to be the odd man out, and right now your guess would have to be that it's absolutely Nader.
Yeah. TLC, I think, it has a chance to be huge for this team. If he can play, if he can stay on the court and be a serviceable guy, he can shoot threes at 36%. You know, he had a nice dunk the other night. If he can drive the rim and attack the rim with confidence and actually finish,
Yeah.
to me, he seems like a guy that's solid. He was, when he was on the court, he was pretty. Justin's favorite hockey team scored a goal.
Overtime winner.
Oh, nice! That's exciting.
I was really worried because what we got coming up next, I was like, man, I've got overtime going on. Oh, but we just won it. It's okay.
So we have TLC as the main odd man out. That's interesting. So would you slot Diallo over TLC right now, as far as
Based on preseason, but I would say this. The one thing about preseason that I do wonder about is how much is Billy kind of saying, like, I've watched a lot of tape.
Right.
I know what TLC is, so let me get a look at Diallo.
Sure.
And then when you get to this regular season, maybe you say, okay, I'm going to go with the guy who's played.
because I think it was the second game TLC didn't play a single minute.
And yeah, and he said, he
Yeah.
told him before the game, I need to look at these other guys.
Right. And TLC's not a player that, like, he might not be a rotational guy, but he's not a guy that you just don't play. Like,
Right.
he's good
Right,
enough
yeah.
to play in preseason.
I think
for
he's
sure.
going to get minutes.
We have a surprise for Brett.
Oh boy.
Are you ready, Justin? All right, hold on. We'll preface this a little bit. It's a game.
Okay.
In this
nervous.
game, you're going to be facing off against Jason here.
Okay.
Right. That's all we're going to give you.
I almost need a beer
Oh,
for
boy.
this.
Ooh.
Go get one,
Go get one.
and we'll
We'll
continue.
stall.
But you have to get me one too.
Sames.
Ooh,
You good?
No, I'm good.
okay.
I
Well,
have dinner coming up with my parents here.
oh, dang, late dinner. I'm sorry we're
know.
keeping you. This will go quick though. This is quick.
Yeah.
And we've done this once before.
Okay.
It's really good. So it's like you're gonna have to use your brain a lot. You're gonna have to think it through. It's hard.
Are you going to put up like emojis and they're going to spell out the name of a movie?
No. This
is way better than any game the Thunder have for their fans.
They might steal it, actually. If
they should.
If they see this, Justin's a great host at this game too.
They should hire him.
The anticipation right now.
I don't deserve that kind of praise.
So they think
It's really off the charts.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh my God, yeah. Can you feel that tension? Can you feel?
I don't have any charts. But
if
I did,
we should have brought
this would
some
be
charts.
off them.
Everybody just listening and watching to us pour beers.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Pour that very poorly.
I did too.
Ooh, nice pun.
You just let me know when you're ready, Justin, and we'll kick this thing
All
off.
right, let's. Yeah,
I
let's
still know
do
what's
this.
happening, so this is
Let's
the
do this.
tricky part.
Let's do this.
Here it goes.
Yep. Folks, fun just walked right through your front door. It's the game sweeping everyone off their feet. It's time for Guess That Shoe Size. I'm your host, Justin Wright, and I'm a shoe size 10.5. For all of our Japanese friends playing along with us at home, that's a 26.5. Today's battle is between... Back in the fold, it's the cheeky and cheerful cheeseburger chomping champion, is Jason.
Ooh, the crowd loves him.
And in this corner, the beguiled beer brandishing badass to beat, it's Brett.
Just one
Look,
breath.
I keep getting one syllable, and it's just it's so anticlimactic.
Yeah, you should have said Dawson at least.
Yeah.
You know.
It would have finished it good. I mean, I don't mean to. You're very good at this.
It's writing prowess versus audio magic. The rules, as always, are simple. I'll name a famous footy, and you guess the size of shoe. If you get it right, you get a point, and you're a foot closer to victory. But if you can't fit that slipper on our celebrity Cinderella, your opponent has a shot to run away with the tally. Ready? Let's go!
He doesn't even wait for. It's a rhetorical ready.
Yeah, you're ready.
Jason, you're the defending champion, so
correct.
we'll start with you. NBA champion, actor, DJ, and Charles Barkley Buster, Shaquille O'Neal.
17.
17. Brett, what do you have?
18.
Brett's going to take the point. It's a size 22.
We got one Brett,
That's
zero
a
Jason.
very, very large shoe.
It's a big shoe. That's a big man.
Yeah.
You know what they say about big feet? You have to have big shoes.
Ooh.
Fruit.
By the way, I was pretty sure it was bigger than that, but I was just going to price it right.
Yeah, that's actually how this game works.
As high as I had to
Just
go.
prices writing people.
Yeah.
Brett, we'll start with you. Frivolously browed, athletic big man, Anthony Davis.
Caught a peek of those shoes when you were covering them ever? Look at the tongue.
I know what they look like. We actually had conversations about his shoes. He taught me a lot about the way the shoe business works in the NBA, but I
man.
don't know what size they were. So, I'm going to go 18 again. How about that?
17 and a half.
Wow.
Jason's going to get it by a half. It is a size 17.
Wow.
Boom.
Jason, back to you to start this one off.
1-1.
WNBA superstar Candace Parker.
Ooh, this is a good
Oh,
one.
I don't even know
Woman's foot.
how those work. 10?
10 in women's, or
Brett,
is
what
this
do you
men's?
have?
I don't know.
What's the size? Is it women's?
It is whatever I found on Wikipedia.
Man,
I believe it is a men's, just for clarification.
Interesting. That seems messed up. They should probably
feel
just
like I
look-
should have done a different thing.
9. I have no idea.
Jason's going to take the point here. It's a size 13.
Wow. He's a veteran.
Wow.
He's a vet at this game.
Yeah.
That's a 2-1 lead for Jason. By the way, in the future, we need little whiteboards that way you
Oh,
can't
yeah.
prices right each other and you got to write it down.
That's a great thing to do.
Yeah, we're going to keep
let's do
improving
that.
on
Yeah.
this game. It's a real
It's
staple.
just going to
here
keep
on
getting
Thunderheads.
better.
All right, Brett, moving back to you. Hollywood heartthrob and playing Neil Armstrong in the upcoming movie about Neil Armstrong's life, Ryan Gosling.
Oh my gosh, I don't have any idea how tall he is or anything. I don't know anything about
Doesn't
him.
matter.
That's why it's the best part.
9.5.
All right, Jason, what do you got?
I'm going to go 10.
Jason's going to take a commanding 3-1 lead.
It's tough to come back
It is
from
a
there, Brett.
size 11.
Wow.
Brett, you're down 3-1. There are 7 total questions on this.
Question the validity
you've
of that
gotta
shoe
come back.
size.
Ooh.
He's gonna do research.
Seems
and come
like
back.
something he might lie about on his resume or whatever it is
This
that
is like
actors
the
have.
height of NBA players.
You ever look at actors' heights on IMDb and see how many of
Yeah.
them are exactly 6 feet tall?
No, I haven't done that.
You're lying.
It's like JJ Barea's listed at like 6'1" or something.
Yeah.
He's
That's
a
incorrect.
solid 5'4".
Yeah. Or maybe he's just kind of hunchback. I don't know.
What do we play to in this weird foot game?
We just keep going until I'm out.
There's 7, he
Yeah,
said.
total 7.
So we have 3 left.
Jason, for you, first president of the United States, George Washington.
Ooh. They didn't even have shoes then, I'm pretty sure.
Wooden sandal clogs.
That's not what it says.
The game is not type of shoe.
Yeah. Dumbass.
Let's go a 9.5.
Brett, what do you got?
Didn't have half sizes in the 1700s?
All right, so my logic is just that people have grown, so I'm going to say an 8 and just think that it's going to be low.
Ooh. Jason's gonna run away with this one. It's a
Yes.
size 13.
Wow.
He had some big feet.
He was a big guy.
I didn't know that.
Man, Candace Parker must just hear all the time, you have the same foot size as George Washington.
Oh,
They're probably so sick of
Every
hearing
day.
about it. It's probably every telecast.
What an amazing distinction.
So what was the height of George Washington?
Oh, he was like 6'4", 6'5".
Really?
He was a big dude.
I had no idea he was that tall.
That must
was
have
that
really
tall?
put some strain on his horse.
It has to be a horse, doesn't it?
Also, his boat going across that frozen river. Just a little weighted down. That's the only thing that I
Are we
know.
ending it there, or we do want to do one
no,
bonus?
we'll do one bonus.
One bonus.
So, all right. For the win, even though it's not for the win, I just read that on my thing. Thunder Hero
This is for all the Tostitos.
and Hair Jordan himself, Nick Collison.
Oh, man.
He probably knows this.
17.
I'm gonna go a 16.5.
15. I'm in.
It's a 16.
Oh, wow. Jason with a good
Jason with
performance.
another point.
What did you go with?
16.5.
I thought we would both bust on that. We were not playing Price is Right rules in this
Nope,
game?
no Price is Right.
Oh,
right.
there's no busting.
Did you beat Rob last time? You did,
I did.
right?
I'm the champion.
2-0 over here. It's impressive.
It was a valid effort.
That was the dumbest thing I've ever done.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
so happy you said that.
What a spectacular compliment.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have. Congratulations to our winner, Jason. Thanks for watching, and remember, always put one foot in front of the other.
You even did the point.
I hope that at this point you're not regretting your decision to come on the podcast.
I mean, I'm not going to say that right here.
You can if
He'll
you
just
want.
think it later.
This
Or
is, you
tell
know,
his parents.
It's just who we are, Dad. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks to Brett Dawson for being here. That was a lot of fun. You can follow him on Twitter at @BDawsonWrites. Is that correct? Go subscribe to The Athletic. Give him that link again. You can get the discount.
theathletic.com/NBA expansion. That'll get you 30% off.
And it's not like you just get access to Brett's articles here.
Everything you want. OU football, all the NBA teams that we cover, which now is essentially all the NBA
All of
teams. Major League Baseball. Great coverage of stuff like hockey, NHL, and MLS, which a lot of places underserve. Great coverage there.
Also, it comes with an app
Yep.
that I love.
The app is amazing.
It's very badass.
And I say that because I was a user of it long before I worked there. The app is great.
I think the app is better than the website.
Yeah.
And the website's good, but the app is like, it sorts everything so beautifully. You see what
Yeah.
you need to see. You can tell what you've already read so easily. It's really nice, man. And it's getting better every day, The Athletic is. It's like more coverage. They just brought on Shams or Shams or however you say it. And obviously that's a huge move for The Athletic.
Big get.
Big get. I mean, that's like the Warriors getting Kevin Durant right there.
Huge,
that was a
huge deal.
terrible analogy
That
to
was
make on
stupid.
this podcast.
That was stupid.
That was just
I don't
really
like that at all.
Thunder open the season next Tuesday at Golden State.
Speaking of,
What? Oh yeah, I did. Yeah,
Gross.
sorry. We'll be back the very next day with a new one, live from Opolis. Hopefully live. We'll see. Sign him off, Justin.
looking at me now, you might not know this, but I've had my moments.
Thunder up.